Welcome to Sistah Girls Nite In. Today we have Nicole Jackson. Nicole Jackson hails from Houston, Texas, and currently resides there with her son and fiance. She's been writing since the age of 11. She enjoys writing poetry and urban tales. She usually explores life in the heart of the streets and felt that there was a dire need for a real depiction of Houston's culture. She Got It is her debut book. Hey Nicole,
Hey,
how you doing today?
doing fine.
Okay, so we're gonna get started with you. You're like, I don't want to say the queen of erotica, but definitely I think you earned the title as one of the top erotica authors, especially in the urban field. What made you decide on that genre? Is it just something that just easily flows with you?
I think I've always liked it, but I think when I first fell in love with something that was probably most similar to what I write was I think it's by Nori.
Mm.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but Nori, and it was called Hood. And they have a few other books like Throwing on Fire, a few more books. I can't think of the names. I like the flair. And over time, my readers will always just mention that they love my sex scenes. And I have this thing, this flair for taboo situations. So it just kind of like was inevitable. It was something that was going to happen.
Absolutely. Um, Anyone that follows you, knows that, you are an open book. You don't steer away from controversial topics, but you aren't rude or standoffish with those who disagree with you. Your page is basically a hot spot for trending topics because you keep us updated with what's what. How important is it that you basically keep up with the current events and keep your readers engaged? Is that a priority of you, or is that just comes naturally?
This is naturally me. Because I noticed that there are some authors who don't do that and they're just as successful. So I think it's just me starting out, especially on social media. Those were my personal pages prior
Yes.
to me becoming an author. And so it's like when you come and follow me, it's a mixture of everything. You can get a glimpse of who Nicole is. It's me as an author, me as a parent, me as just a normal person, a spectator, if you will. It's just me.
Yeah. I remember a discussion we had with author Nina, and her readers were asking, what can they read next? And she said, well, Nicole Jackson books are always my go-to. And she turned her readers on to reading you, and they come back in the comments and they comment on it. How does that make you feel? Where we have an industry where you have authors who aren't intimidated by other women authors. It's a girl tribe. How do you feel, knowing that there are authors that recommend your books, will say that you're a go-to author, will, read it religiously, and anticipate your next book? How do you feel about that?
I always appreciate that. That's love, because there are authors I feel like they're competitive, but I feel like this is the one lane where I don't really see competition because creatively there's enough space for everybody. And as
Absolutely.
long as your work is enjoyable, I'm going to read it. And I can appreciate any girl out there that doesn't have an ego about it. And, because once they read yours, they still have room to read others. And if I love a book, I recommend it as well.
Okay. Um, Piggy. Nicole, Piggy was wrong. Piggy was and it's crazy because I every time I be in my moods, I just think of Piggy, right? And I'll
What?
literally post Piggy is wrong on my page, and I mean, people, we've read that books when it first came out, and still, it is a topic where people will come on there and jump on me like, Maisha, let it go. Piggy did what needed to be done. Like they take her side. How do you feel about that? Because even you come on my page before and like, Maisha, let it go. You gotta let it go.
Well,
And
I
I'm
say
just
this.
like,
I tell
ah.
people all the time that Piggy is a circumstantial situation. Her character in the circumstances she was put into, right? A lot of times I think about when a lot of readers say that this character was wrong or that character was wrong. They're thinking about their own moral compass of
Oh,
what they would and wouldn't do, right? But if your circumstances aren't just like that character circumstances, it's kind of hard to compare apples to oranges. Me personally, I don't know what I would do because I've never been in Piggy's situation.
right.
Me, I'm just when I'm writing, I'm trying to rationalize what would be the driving force behind a person who's would be considered a good person to do these unethical things.
Mm.
And my grandmother always says this. She used to say this to me: "You know where you've been, but you don't know where you're going." So it's easy to say what you won't do until
Yeah.
your back is against the wall
Yes.
and you're facing homelessness or going back to an abusive situation.
Yes. And not,
So,
I really forget about that. She was in this situation where she left with nothing. She left
hmm
with nothing, and he actually provided everything. So I can see it that way. I can see
especially
it.
if you consider the fact that the cousin that you were trying to, run to for like a safe haven, they taking a dump on you basically. And here it is in this moment, you are expected to kind of have loyalty to somebody who has absolutely none to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Do
So,
you prefer being an indie author?
well, I know no other way really. So I can't really compare it to much.
Hmm. I know a lot of indie authors, they say they like the freedom. You can stick to the storylines you want. You don't have to worry about a publisher telling you, no, you should write this way or write that way. And sometimes, um, a certain way of writing is expected when, all the time you don't want to write like that. So,
Well, you know what, I do forget this, but I don't even consider it in hindsight me being really signed to somebody because the business wasn't legitimate. But for a brief moment, I was signed to G Street Chronicles, and I really had no interest in them doing anything for me Amazon wise because I didn't need them for that.
yes.
He had pitched me on the idea of being able to get my books into the stores. That was supposed to be the thing with him. And of course, he didn't deliver. And I was able to walk away from that situation unscathed because he didn't hold up his end of the bargain. But while I was signed with him, I think I put out two books. No, I think it was three. It was Promiscuous Girl 1, Can I Talk to You, and Love is Gone. Those were the three books that I put out. And I can't speak for everybody because even in this case, I really believe that I have a gift. And sometimes when you're gifted like that, people just coming like, and they, even when people test read, it's not like I've never gotten like legitimate feedback. It's
Ah,
it's more like, oh, I just love the story type thing. So I've never had a situation where I've had to go back and change something to fit into what somebody else wants.
gotcha, gotcha. Do you see yourself writing scripts or plays or taking anything that you wrote so far into like a TV movie or anything like that?
Well, initially before COVID, I was working with a producer that used to work on True Blood with HBO, right?
Uh-huh.
One of her sisters was a reader of mine from Philly, and when True Blood came to an end, she had been telling her sister like, "This girl from Houston has something different. I feel like you need to read it." And she kind of like binge read all of my books, reached out to me, and we started like we did like a mini documentary. We shopped into several networks and different people. Like we shopped into Cube Vision, Beyonce's company Parkwood. Nobody told us no. But Hollywood is it's hard. Like you can have an idea or you can have a project And people will think that something happens overnight, but you could have been
Yeah.
trying to get people to get past all of these yeses and till you get to the final yes for years before something really manifests. So we still have to keep our day jobs. Everybody that was a part of the project, they still have to work. I continue to put out books. My producer, she has her own personal life. She still has to work, and her other the co-producer, and so on and so forth. So we've tried it, and then COVID happened, and then she got sick. But it's still a dream of mine. Now, Tubi, I feel like, especially probably a couple of years ago, we felt like Tubi was like a last option. Like it's not
Uh,
that we would scratch it off,
mhm.
but it wasn't the immediate go-to thing because, and this is from my perspective, I think Tubi is a avenue just like Amazon. So it's helpful to probably get you to where you need to be. But when you look at the success, the overall success, like of an individual project, it seemed like it's just enough for you to be able to do it again with another project. I don't know if those situations are life changing or even career changing. So it's an avenue, but I think it's like you still have to put some work in with it. It's like
Yeah,
if you have a Tubi movie, you having a ride. You still have work to do, if I could
I
say that.
sense. That makes sense. What do you feel is your most underrated book?
Um, hmm, probably either So Many Tears or They Don't Know Me. Tyra story. Either or.
And what book did you think was a surprise? Like you didn't expect it to do what it did, and then it jumped out. The,
Hmm. I don't know. In more recent times, I would have to say More Than a Crush.
I liked it that one.
Yeah, I liked it too, but readers are finicky,
Mm.
and sometimes they'll sleep on something, and then they'll gravitate towards it later. But I felt good about More Than a Crush, and it showed with the readers they really loved it. I was like, okay, we got it. We on the same page here.
So, with your characters, especially in your books, sometimes the characters aren't. I mean, you can go from a BBW to somebody with a Coke bottle shape, and it's like you don't discriminate. Whatever you're feeling, that's what this character is gonna look like. Do you have any? And I know sometimes we have to ignore readers as
Hmm.
authors because the readers don't always go with the majority of what many people expect. But is there has there ever been a type of woman that your readers expected you to write about and you've just been like
Well, I'm anti readers input. Number one, I am very anti. I don't like taking suggestions because it's like this isn't a you come up with a storyline and then I execute it. Like I want y'all to be able to walk around in my head. This is whatever vision I come up with and I present it. And I feel like once you start taking in too many suggestions, you lose this authenticity. It's not you. It's everybody else and what they feel. And
yeah.
sometimes that'll translate because I feel like when you write something that is not coming from the heart, it feels like work. And it'll translate into when the people read it, the energy they're getting from it. So I don't take suggestions like that. But when it comes to physical appearance, I haven't had any readers to tell me directly, but I've seen it in reviews. And to be honest, I don't read reviews like I used to. I like for my own mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Like I see that like newer authors who are still getting established, they run and they keeping up with the numbers. I don't do that. Like I encourage all my readers to leave reviews because it's beneficial. That doesn't mean I have to read them
Mm-hmm.
because we're human, and I think they forget that. You know,
They
they come sideways, and then
ways exactly.
they expect for you to
You be
always take the
like,
high road.
I be like, did they really just? Oh my God, Lord!
Yeah.
I know how you, as a reader, like sometimes I read the reviews and I'm like, now why would you say? something like that. And I think some people they say it because they know that either they can hide behind a screen name or
Hmm.
that you will never see them in person. So, they can say what they want.
Yeah,
But sometimes I'm just like, even and I'm from Miami. They say whatever, but
yeah.
even sometimes I'm just like, wow, I
Yeah,
can't believe they
and
said
I made a decision not to be passive aggressive about it. Whatever I feel, if it comes across my desk and I encounter it, I'm going to address it. Only because I've realized I used to try to play politically correct earlier on, and it got me nowhere. Because when those people feel like that you can give them a little space, they just run with it.
yeah.
Oh, she's letting me play with her. Now I have like a zero tolerance thing. Oh no, you can go. You can get up out of here. And I realized that, truth be told, if your stuff is good enough, they can be mad as I don't know what, but they'll still go and buy their book low key.
Yes.
They'll
Yes.
still go buy it. So you're not gonna lose a reader. Don't be afraid. But yeah, back to what you originally asked. It was a whole bunch of people who kind of tried to accuse me of colorism.
I
And it
remember.
started with she got it. After
Hmm.
she got it, had been out for maybe 6 months to a year. They said that I tried to write it to where the light skinned girls were like the queens of the world and all the dark skinned people were the villains. And I'm like, what? And then people don't realize that if anything, I'm biased because I like to write about brown skinned women. Like,
Hmm.
how can I be a colorist writing about brown skinned women? It makes no sense. So a lot of times people project. They'll turn their personal
You
issues,
see.
their personal trauma into your problem. And you
Hmm.
have to just stand fast on that because they'll do it. And so I remember one time when I was with the book, Can I Talk to You? The main character she had a lot of insecurities. And I wrote her and described her as an attractive person, but she still had these insecurities.
Hmm.
Well, it was people that took offense to that in the reviews. Was
Wow.
basically saying like, you describe this character as having light brown skin, having long hair. How is she so insecure? So basically, they were trying to say that if I was going to write about an insecure woman, she should have been dark skinned with short hair. Now, what that would have been saying about me, if that's what I felt, or if that's the only way that I knew how to convey a person with self esteem issues or
Yeah.
whatever else. I didn't see the correlation there. And I didn't even know what C4 hair was. This was years ago. Now, of course, with social media and the way that they talk about it so much, you would have to be under a rock not to know. But
Hmm.
probably like about 8, 9 years ago, that wasn't just like a relevant thing that people just discussed. So they were like, I don't understand why Nicole doesn't write about characters with C4 hair. I'm not, you can't please everybody.
You
I'm
sure
not,
can. You
you,
sure
you,
can. Cause if you write with C4 how they want to know, well, why she don't got to weave? What her protective styles? It's like, wow. But
yeah.
with that, and I know, maybe a couple of weeks ago, me and you were on the same page when they were upset because Chili said she was caramel and not chocolate. I'm like, y'all really gonna make this a? And I mean, they were eating her up, and me and you were like, I feel like she's I don't think she's a chocolate girl.
And then if you refuse to acknowledge what they're saying, then you have self hatred.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of it just being a debate about what we view a complexion as, it's turning into she wants to be something she's not. She didn't say she was light skinned. And I think that's the reason why I tried to point it out in that way. Because that's the reason why they were accusing me of colorism. Because a lot of people, because we're all from different places.
Mm-hmm.
And regionally, they were trying to say that caramel is considered light skin where they live.
No.
I've seen in the comments on social media where they were trying to say that Beyonce is caramel.
Absolutely not.
Right. So that's what a problem. See, it's a lot of miscommunication that goes on in the midst of this, and people misunderstand and misinterpret things. So, of course, if you think caramel is Beyonce's complexion, you'll think chili is out her
Beyonce.
mind.
Yeah.
But the problem is they have the wrong concept of what the complexion is that she's referring to. So
Mhm.
I'm like, let's bring clarity to what caramel is. Then maybe you can understand her a little more. But
Exactly.
sometimes people have been they have decided that they're right, and they've made their mind up about things,
Hmm.
and there's nothing you can do to sway them.
So, with your descriptions, and I know
Mm-hmm.
and absolutely, people with brown skin or light skin and long hair have insecurities. I mean, that's a given.
Mm-hmm.
Insecurities doesn't belong to a certain size, certain complexion, certain. So when you're describing your characters, and I know this is an issue as well, and you say, "Oh, well, she's a dark skin, short," and the first thing they want to do is they need an actual visual. And then when they put up this visual as an author, you like, this is not what this is a light skinned woman with
Mm-hmm.
green eyes, and how do you get this? And is that a problem for you when you describe a character and your readers see something totally opposite from what you mean?
No, you know, I took psychology in college. And so people hate that about me, but I think that's probably one of the reasons why I'm so good at what I do. I psychoanalyze everybody.
Mm.
So I tell everybody, like, sometimes you could sit around and you could wreck your brain and be so stressed out because you're like, why? Why? Me? I try to walk around in the person's head, and once I figure them out, then I've gotten rid of all of the mystery. Because I know how you tick. I know how you think.
Hmm.
And it helps me to rationalize and make peace with things. So sometimes even when it comes down to even selecting a picture, it's about who that person is and how they see beauty and a whole lot of other things. So that plays heavily into that, right? So you have women who, even if they're of a certain color, only think that certain other complexions are considered attractive, or certain this is or certain that's. And it'll be reflective in who they choose. Because, like, a lot of times when I don't think I have that many complaints about the women, I don't really care for the male visuals. The male visuals are often very feminine. Like,
You know what? I heard an author say one time, it's hard finding the hood dudes. It's hard finding because they don't take many pictures. Most of all the feminine, they have a picture for every occasion,
mm-hmm.
and a lot of times the visuals that people use for their male characters is confusing because you can't write about a character like that and give me this guy
With
that
his nose pierced, his eyebrows are arched.
manicure, and not
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with manicure, but your nails got color on it. It's
Right.
I just can't see it. And I'll tell you quick, like I don't see it.
You know, they would my readers used to love to do that a few years ago, but now I haven't really been focusing on that lately. But the
Mhm.
best way to find visuals is to go to regular people's pages. They try to go to these popular people pages with all these followers and stuff.
They want
And
models.
right. That's why they getting those results. Because I know it's several guys here in Houston that are handsome enough and that fit the bill. But
Hmm.
personally, I don't like to use those images because I remember one time, um, a reader, she's not from Houston, but I would tell them about tea in the city or whatever. And she went and stole a picture from, like, just a local regular dude from the city. And it was like, Nicole, we could use it. I'm like, no, we can't. Cause you got to understand, I live in this city with this person. I don't want them to all of a sudden thinking that, like, I'm writing about them, or they don't understand what we're doing.
Hmm. Yes.
They don't understand the context. So no.
Right.
But yeah.
So before we started discussion on Never Saw Her Coming, which was your latest release,
Hmm.
who would you say is your most to date, your most controversial character, male and female?
Most controversial is Jaya for the females. My male characters, hmm. I would probably have to, as I'm saying this, I'm kind of leaning towards probably when I say controversial, probably the most hated. So that would probably be either Carmelo or Amir Senior.
I think Amir would. I think he would beat out Carmelo.
You think so?
I think he would.
But
In
really, but
mine.
really low key, Carmelo worse. Like if it was me in my own personal opinion, Carmelo is worse. I was so shocked by how many people talk to me about Carmelo and they found some kind of empathy within them for him. I'm like, what?
I think that's what it is. Like, hmm. It's like, did he mean it? Or
Because even
it's
even
like
my
when
even
it
even
comes to
my
the male characters, we
uh-huh.
really be trying to find every excuse as to why they're not that bad. With the women characters, like they can do one little thing and we like,
and
oops.
that's what I said. I said that I wanted to be the anti-hero. I still haven't touched on the surface of the kind of characters that I still have in my vote that I want to write about. Because I'm noticing women go hard on the flawed women. They
Yes, they do.
nitpick. They
Oh
nitpick.
my God. Let me tell you, women can't catch a break because it's like you said, we're projecting our own insecurities and what we would have did and, you know, how we would have did it to where a lot of times women characters don't receive the grace they deserve.
Hmm.
They don't get to redeem themselves. Once they mess up, that's it. It's like I hated her since this moment, and you like, okay, but she redeemed herself, but still she ain't
Hmm.
have to do all that. Whereas the men, when they redeem themselves, it's like we're jumping up and down because we want. I think we prefer a male that redeems himself over a woman that does. Because once she messes up, she's trash. We just
I think that that's just reflective of real life. When we talk about a lot of times about like a woman, for instance, a woman can't even vent about her child's father if he's lacking something or there's a dispute. If she'll be like, well, he came got his child and I asked him for $200 and he knowed I needed it, but he only gave me 50. You know what they'll be in the comments?
at
At
least
least
he
you got
gave me
$50.
50. At least
My
he
baby daddy
came.
don't even do that.
Yeah.
It's this at
Yes.
least ism.
Yes, yes, yes. You are absolutely correct. So I wanted to talk about your new book, Never Saw Her Coming.
Hmm.
I know you have another release coming soon, but
Tonight, girl, I'm dropping it tonight on my website, Nicole Jackson Books.com. I was supposed to upload it last night, but girl, I am
I've
about to
been
be
on
8
your
months
page
pregnant.
waiting. I've been on your page waiting. I'm like, she said, even though I ain't
Yeah.
podcast, she said.
That's why I
Um,
don't give release dates because I know like no other things happen. And I don't even like it because it did not just that. Of course, before my website, we used to deal like with releases on Amazon. And Amazon is so finicky. You can
yes.
tell them a date. You can tell everybody a date, but that doesn't mean that it's gonna release when you say so anyway. So I just avoid all that. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Y'all get it
Speaking
when I
of,
put it out.
yeah, you say you're 8 months pregnant right now. You gave us a very very detailed write up of your experience with pregnancies, and it was so encouraging. Like this is the furthest I've gone in my pregnancies, and it's for some women it may not be a triumph, but for you, that means a lot. Like this is the most steady pregnancy I've had. And I just think, one of the things I talked about earlier with you is like you're so open. You were willing to share that with us because we did experience, before the loss. So we were
Mhm.
there with that to see you going through it again, but this time, you're close to full term. It's such like it brings us joy because we were, we can empathize with
But
everything.
I feel like I think in this situation it was like almost like I felt like at some point I had to address it because y'all know that I had my last son extremely early. I still
Mhm.
haven't gone in depth of everything that happened in that situation because the one key thing that I'll say is that I don't have like a lot of complications with pregnancy. Like, some women suffer from high blood pressure, preeclampsia, this, that, diabetes. That's not my issue. I only had one issue, but for some reason, uh I had a white doctor with my last pregnancy, and I felt like looking back at it in hindsight, a lot of times people don't realize this. Like a doctor you can come in and sit on their table and you think that they've read your charts and know exactly what's your medical history and what they're facing and then address you according to that, but they don't do that sometimes.
Wow.
So they'll come in and mind you, I've had my first son preterm. So if anything with my last pregnancy, we should have been focusing on how not to have this baby preterm. He was wasting time talking about me keeping up with my blood sugars. I thought that he had done read in my chart somewhere that I was diabetic, only for me to go to a dietitian and for her to tell me that when she read my charts, I wasn't even considered diabetic. The man
Wow.
had tried to prescribe me some insulin.
That's what really that's hard. And I mean, we've heard nightmares of black women, during their pregnancy, how they're ignored by
Hmm.
doctors, and it's something that hopefully will be addressed really soon. But I'm glad that you shared that with us because, again, a lot of people can relate to you. A lot of readers can relate to exactly what you're going through, and it gives them
Hmm.
hope. It gives them hope
Yep.
that there's you can after loss there's you can continue and you can
Right.
try
It's
again.
especially in my case. I it's sad to say, but I learned to advocate for myself from my last experience.
Absolutely.
And I just went into my doctor when I finally went to, like, for the pregnancy confirmation, and I said, "Yeah, let's discuss the cerclage." She was like, "That's what you want to do?" I was like, "Yep." So we did a preventative, which we could have done with the last pregnancy, and it would have been a whole different ball game. The last one we had to do a rescue, and by then it was already too far gone. But so had we just taken that option the first time, my son would still be here. So this time I was like, let's do it. We did it as a preventative when I was just 3 months, and I haven't had any issues. We
That's good.
so if I had just had that, and it's crazy that other women they don't those options and that information is just not readily available. You don't
Absolutely.
know and you don't experience. Sometimes he didn't give me anything to stop me from having dilations early. He didn't do any of those things. Like this doctor now, she's a black doctor and she does all of these things. And I'm like thinking to myself, why is this experience so different from the other one?
Because you're advocating for yourself.
Hmm.
Wow. Wow. And that's a heavy subject, but I'm glad that you're willing to share that with us. So from your last book, I know you're gonna release another one,
Hmm.
soon. With Never Saw Her Coming. I enjoy the fact that your erotica still have a relatable storyline.
Hmm.
And with this one, with Ruma, she came from a conservative family, that dressed her didn't she didn't show off her shape because they didn't allow her to. And
Hmm.
then once she got 18, it's like, oh, I don't want to venture that way. I want to be able to express myself, in clothes. I want to be able to hang with my friends and things
Hmm.
like that. And it's like when she turned, I think she, like you said, she was waiting on that day, and the first thing she could say is, "Well, I'm legal." You know, I I'm grown. I don't need to not say listen to my your parents because I don't think that's what she was aiming for, but she wanted to be able to live the life that she wanted to live. They
Mhm.
had to let her do so. And I can say that how you wrote it is like we saw her, go from this insecure, we would call her BBW,
Mhm.
well, to, and the guy that she was, with, how do you pronounce his name? Is it Rugger?
Ruger,
Ruger.
like the gun, Ruger.
Oh. So with Ruger is like he was trying to help her with in the self esteem, and like you said, the self esteem issues come in different shapes, sizes, colors. But he wanted her to embrace her body. That was a problem
Mhm.
she had, where they would have sex, and then the next day she's hovering and covering herself, like he didn't just see it the night before. And I remember the girl who he was with, Arlie, was a conversation they had, and basically, she was saying how she trusts Rumor around her because she didn't think that Rumor was as attractive as she was, and lo and
Mhm.
behold, this is the type of woman your man is attracted to. And that, I think that's what it was, one of those moments where I'm like, haha, I enjoyed that because it's a lot of women who really think that men want a certain type of woman, when in actuality that's not the woman they want at all. One of the things he said about her is she's real. She can hold conversation with me. I don't have to worry about her slipping out on me. She's loyal. Like, it was a list of things she had that Arlie just didn't possess.
In that, but even also in that case, everything kind of like is like a little smoke and mirrors. Like sometimes I'll say things without saying it, then I'll go back and then I'll bring it, to the surface. Um, in Rumor's case, Rumor was always attractive. It
Yes.
was it was it was never because they even then they thought that she was pretty. So it wasn't about the girl thinking, what's her, let's say I got so many characters there, I can't even remember the
Ar-
chick's name.
Arlie.
Huh?
Arlie.
It was
Arlie.
Carly, right?
Arlie. Arli. Arlie.
You said a what? That's
Arli.
that's
Ari. I'm sorry. Auri. Ari.
Ari.
I'm
That's what it was.
sorry.
I'm like, wait a minute, because okay, yeah, Ari. Ari knew that that Rumor was just as pretty as her. She was more so talking about
The
Rumor's
physical.
body.
Mm-hmm.
It was about her being fit and Rumor technically being overweight. But I feel like here in Houston, Texas, I can't speak for other places because I've heard that it's different.
Mm-hmm.
All BBWs are not created equally. You know, it definitely depends on how you're built.
Yes.
So you can stand next to a chick and she's 60 pounds heavier than you. But if she got the pow, 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 those, those men gonna be on her like white on rice.
Absolutely. They really are.
Yeah. So, in Rumor's case, it was because she wasn't wearing the flattering clothes. You couldn't really
Yeah.
see those curves. So even though she had a nice figure, it was draped in so much stuff that the average guy, if they don't pay attention, they'll miss it.
And it was one part where you had her and her best friend. They were literally had and her argument was, we have on the same shorts, and he was like, well, she got more curves than you. Like, it's like, like basically saying she more pleasant to look at, because she got the curves than you. You may have on the same outfit, but she wears it different. And
Yeah.
I like that part. Like, it was certain parts where I was just laughing and being like, that's right, because not all, not all men want the I'm gonna call it the Kim Kardashian body. You got hips, you got, but you have
Hmm.
nothing else. It's like everything isn't flattering on you, even though you are a certain size. Where you got bigger women who can wear the hell out of an outfit.
Hmm.
look really good doing it, and you know, basically put these girls that are surgically enhanced to shame with their
And not
natural
just that, I
beauty.
think I use that as an example because I've noticed a lot of times, um, if you have assets, you got the boobs, you got the thighs, you got the butt, it's way more offensive for you to wear revealing
Yes.
clothing versus that slimmer girl. Because even in school, you can go look at, like, if I take my son to his middle school, if a little skinny little girl has on some short shorts, she probably can make it through the whole day without a teacher saying anything. But let some thick girl with thighs and butt come in with those same shorts, they're going home immediately.
Hmm.
So it's a thing. And
Yeah.
sometimes, I've seen it where they be sometimes people feel like if you are of a certain size, that you're supposed to cover it up. I don't know why.
Yes. Yes. Oh, this shouldn't be out. Your breast out. So it's like basically the itty bitty titty community. They the only people that are expected to
Yeah.
wear
But
certain
let you wanna
shirts.
just feel sexy. Now they feel like you got it all in their man face. And
Oh,
you
it's
just sitting
kids
there.
around here. You don't care about the kids. Well, we got
Uh-huh.
baby. I know. So with this book or whatever, it seems as if you wanted to project, uh, you know, basically project the BBW as, I'm not saying she's better, but she can still pull the same men you think are off limits to certain women. She can
Hmm.
still pull that man, and I think that's what I didn't like about Ari. It's like she felt because she looked a certain way and had the slim figure that she was basically she that rumor held no weight to her, and it was the opposite. Where not
Hmm.
because she hold his attention with how she looked, he also liked being around her. She didn't bore him. It wasn't all about clothes and shoes and everything. He actually liked doing stuff for her. That was, I don't want to say his best friend, but she was what he actually wanted.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Him and I think that was a reflection. Ari's relationship with Ruger was a reflection of what a lot of guys do. I feel like there's a
Hmm.
huge population of men that want to have their main woman as somebody who's aesthetically pleasing. And a lot of times when they do that, they don't think about the character and things like that. So a lot of times they end up with an empty shell, right? So
Uh-huh.
even though they have this pretty girl at home, she doesn't check off any of those other marks for him like that. So he's constantly seeking things outside of the home because she's not really it for him. But he's so superficial because she looks good. Maybe the makes the friends jealous and makes the homeboys want to dap him up like, hey, you did that. That
Hmm.
he's holding on to something that doesn't feed the soul, basically.
Yes, absolutely. And that's why a lot of people are miserable in their relationships, because they go for what they're expected to be with and not what they want. And I
Hmm.
like that you touched on that. He went for what he wanted. He basically told his friends, she's off limits. You cannot touch her. I like that. He staked his claim, and he got her. And I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna say it was wrong because he was in a relationship. I think that they were together, but him and Ari, they weren't there. They weren't on the same page. It was just like history. And
It
I
was
think
it was
that,
a thing of convenience too,
yeah,
trauma bonding and leaning on each other. But
and,
it was
and
it was everything but about them being in love.
mhm. And I
Hmm.
was actually I was listening to my friend, because I let Alexa read it to me when we were in the car traveling. And Ari, she thought she was preaching when she was saying, oh, he's there and we've been together for this long. And it's like, and she turned to me, she was like, and that's the problem with a lot of women. They think that that men don't know they just with them because of what they can do for them. She was like, this is clearly a relationship of convenience. It was nothing about what she described that said I'm in love with this guy and I want to spend my life with him. No,
Mm-hmm.
you like what he can do for you. You like that, when you were 16 or so, he rescued you from the house, in the situation you were in. But as far
Mm-hmm.
as y'all being in love, y'all were far away from it. It was convenient. He took care of you and you enjoyed it. But I think that's where a lot of relationships go stale. It's convenience. They not there because of anything else. They have sex, they take care of each other, she throw her money, and that's it. It's no bonding after that. It's nothing besides what is physically there.
Mm-hmm. I tell you know what, it's this is the book I haven't written yet, but I say one day I'm going to tap into this. When it comes to a lot of relationships, when we talk about relationships in general, I've spoken to just women in general, not just women like from social media or through the book clubs, but even like people in my family or friends or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, and men and women do it, it's just not the male species, it's the women too. People decide to be with a person because there's some kind of benefit in it. A lot of
Yeah.
women choose certain men because they're good providers. But after you talk about what they provide for you, uh, something that's like tangible, physical, they really can't tell you much. They really can't tell you how he makes them feel. What does he do to make them feel special? But they like he a good provider. He can fix things. He gonna cut that grass. And
That's all
when
you
you
can
make those kind of decisions, when life gets a little tougher and things change, if that same man loses his job or all of a sudden he doesn't have anything redeemable because you never really liked him. You never you never really cared for him.
do. Yeah.
So people forget. I mean, I remember personally there was a time in my life where I dated for survival.
Wow.
Like I
Okay.
didn't like if I when I didn't have my ducks in a row, any man that I entertained was gonna have his own place because I didn't have my own place.
So I could
So
just yes.
so I was gonna make sure that I gravitated to somebody who could lift me up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically back then I would say that I dated who I needed. But
No.
when you get to a certain
Mm-hmm.
level or financial status, it no longer is about what you need, but rather what you want. I also kind of understand that that's one of the reasons why a lot of successful men don't want successful women
Um,
because
they don't need them.
they don't a
You
man
gotta
needs
have
to
your
be
stuff.
needed. He
Yes.
has to be needed
Wow. Yes.
because a lot of men associate so much of themselves in what they do and what they provide. And if
Yes.
you strip that away from them, they don't even know who they are in a situation. It throws them off. And it takes a very confident man to be able to still be a man in a situation where he may not be the the financial breadwinner. And then I can't even have this conversation with every woman because I hate when women chime in
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, my man is the breadwinner and she don't even have a job. You know, y'all have y'all situation and y'all dynamics that's decided upon. But what about the woman, let's say he starts off as the breadwinner. He pays the bills, but you go out and you take a leap of faith and you start being you become an entrepreneur, and all of a sudden you're the breadwinner. And after all these years of him once being the person who was the provider, you don't think that those dynamics are going to change?
That is a great point. And one of my favorite books was a series, the Take It Down. That
Mm-hmm.
was one of the ones. It's like she found a man who could, you know, granted they set her up, but she found that man who basically provided everything from the sex to the money to
Right.
being there for her, taking care of her. That was one of, I think that's my favorite. I think
You
that's my
you know,
favorite.
Take It Down, out of all my recent books, it's a few of them I love more than the crush but Take It Down, it's something special about it.
I
It's
love that.
something it's something special about Take It Down. That's one of my favorites too, I can say. Cause it's, I tell y'all I'm weird. I go back and I reread my own work a lot.
Mm.
Like I am guilty of
That's
not
not
being
weird.
an avid reader because I've seen so many authors who literally admit that after they finish a project, they just cannot stand to go back and reread it. But then I don't understand those same authors because then how do you come back years later and try to have a continuation of the story
Got
and you didn't
that
read it?
right.
That's why the shit don't. Excuse me. That's why it don't do what it's supposed to do because you didn't go back and study and take in your own work.
Another one I like. I like Threes to Kick. You know what? Threes to Click. I don't know. It went totally opposite of what.
You expect it.
Yes. Like I didn't expect it. I'm like, that's their homegirl, whatever, whatever. It's like both of them. Oh wow,
Yeah, that was one of the wildest rides, and that's one of the books that
that's what it was. A wild ride. You are
I'm
right. That's what it
constantly getting
was.
inboxed about because they thought that. And this is a disclaimer for anybody who doesn't know. Three's the Click was a complete story. The ending was not a cliffhanger. I repeat, the ending was not a cliffhanger. Like they don't like when it comes to eroticas. It's not, the ending is never absolute.
Hmm.
It's supposed to be like, you know, it's just like an intermission. It's not like a whole full book like a regular story where I can take you from their childhood to their adulthood and how they end up. That's not the
Hmm.
story. Most eroticas are like just a certain time frame of things. And once that dilemma is hashed out, then we're done with that. They I told you who she was pregnant for.
I, I don't know. I really like. I think that, and I know Take It Down was good, but it's like Three's a Click was one of them books where I'm like, wait, I think I'm not gonna say a shocker, but it was one of them ones where I'm like, I probably wouldn't mind a situation like that. Like, golly, that was
Listen.
yeah.
And then,
That's one of
but I'm not even opposed to coming up with a part two. One of the reasons why I don't want to touch a part two is because I've read a few books like with poly situations where it's one girl and two guys.
hmm
I don't care for it because I've never read one that's realistic. Not in the way that I see men. Not in the way that I feel like a man is naturally in nature.
yeah, because they was fighting this stuff. They wasn't.
Right. These
It
because
was like you
men
choose me. Like
Right,
you.
because men are like me personally. I'm attracted to like an alpha male. Like I have the men that I tend to fall for are very strong personalities. They're not gonna share, right?
Yes.
It's just they're not with it. So it's one thing when it's a sexual situation before feelings, get involved and it becomes serious. As it becomes serious, I couldn't have seen myself continuing on with a story that makes sense and they continue to share her. And I think that's what people wanted.
Yeah. I get it. I get it. I get it. That was one of them ones where I'm like, ooh, after I finished, I'm like, girl, you gotta read this one. You gotta read this one, cause baby, yes, they was getting down. And that's
And
what I
she was
said,
and
like,
she was and she was getting it every way you turn. Like
mhm. That's what I was like, and I told you, like, you one of my favorite erotica authors, if not my favorite, because it's like not only do you turn the erotica apart, you have a storyline to where it's actually like someone's life, and it's not somebody I just, I go to the airport and I meet somebody in the bathroom, and you don't write that type of erotica. You write the relationships, or people trying to get out of relationships and finding new people, and
Hmm.
they're the intimacy happens. So that's why I appreciate yours, because it comes with a storyline. I'm going to get a storyline with bomb sex scenes, and that's
Yeah.
what I look at. That's what I look at.
I feel like the reason why I have to have a storyline is because I don't understand. Like, I've read certain books where it was more like smut, but there's
Um,
no, to me, I that doesn't, like, I have to have like a mental F. Like, get me mentally involved in the story, and that's what's gonna turn me on. Like, that's what I like, right?
hmm
So the storyline is the driving force behind the sexual energy when they're doing what they're doing. You
Yeah.
know, especially like if it's like a taboo situation, there's two people that are not supposed to be doing what they're doing. And doing it in the out of line way. Oh, the girl is in the other room. Oh, her man is over
Mhm.
there, and they.
You like, okay, you
Hmm.
know. But speaking like your next book, can you tell us a little bit about it? The one
My
that you're
next
dropping?
book, what is that? What is it? Girl, that's sad. That's this pregnancy brain. It's called, A Time Was Had.
Mm.
A Time Was Had. And this one, it's been executed a lot, but it's never been done by Nicole. This is this is what happens after a one night stand.
Mm.
Yeah.
The to be continued. That wasn't supposed to be continued.
Right. This is what happens after a girl goes to the club heartbroken. She meets this guy, he's everything that she runs from. Like, physically she's a beautiful girl, but she's always played it safe. The guy that
Um,
she was with, he wasn't the most standoutish person. But he was good. He had been good to her. They had been together for years. She had met him in college. They both had gotten degrees. And she kind of thought that they were on their way to living the American dream, so to speak.
mhm.
And they were both like from impoverished neighborhoods and were like the first college graduates together. And she just knew that they were gonna build this life. She just knew it. It was never a question. So when she finds out that he cheated on her, and not only cheated on her, but he's supposed to have a baby, he
Oh,
just had
wow.
behind her back. She goes to the club heartbroken, and she meets Cream, and they do their thing, but they go their separate ways. She still has
Mhm.
her own issues she's dealing with, and he has his. And so you just have to see how it goes from there and everything that happens with them. But just know, of course, if a time was had, that means that first encounter was was gonna be off the chain anyway, because they were just having some fun, thinking that they would
Yeah,
just never see each other again.
like I said, the to be continued after it wasn't supposed to continue.
Right.
I'm ready for that one, baby. I'm
Yep.
ready for that one. I'm tell you, I've been following your page to see when you were gonna drop it. So I know when I went last one on now on Monday, you were talking about it. So said it was dropping this week. So I'm like,
Yeah,
okay,
we
I
we
asked
we
her about it.
here. I might have to, when I get off of here, I might have to take a nap, and because it's crazy. Like, I know for a fact, if I was not pregnant, the book would have been out 4 or 5 days ago. It's literally a situation where I'm doing a read through, right? And when I
Hmm.
do my last read through, I that's when I catch like simple mistakes, like little typos.
Yes.
But if I'm doing it while I'm half asleep, I know I'm gonna miss stuff, or I'm getting groggy. So it's a battle. I gotta play like double dutch. Let me hop in when I got a little energy. It's I can't wait to not be pregnant. I'll just say that.
So is this the? Are you writing something else after that, or is this going to be a break?
I'm not sure. It depends. I want to, in the perfect storm, in a perfect situation, because not just that. I signed a new author.
Oh.
She was asking me. do I think it's possible? Because I've basically have given. I work for myself, of course. I've decided that when I have the baby, I'm gonna take a 2 month hiatus. I think I am, because who knows? I might get bored
Yeah.
after the baby gets here. I don't know her personality yet. I don't know if she's gonna be feisty or if she's gonna sleep.
Hmm.
So I may get into a zone where I want to go back and start writing early. But I've given myself like a 2 month window of doing absolutely nothing.
Okay.
So I want to have an April release. That would be lovely. But I don't know yet, because I still, after I wrap up this project, I need to work on any lingering stuff that's going on with my authors.
Okay.
And this girl here, she hasn't been out yet. This will be her first run at it, and I think we were just talking about this last night. But I think I want to advertise her book as a contemporary romance versus it being urban this or urban that. I think her story is more contemporary. But I think that's great because I want to see what that contemporary world is like from the author's
I
perspective.
like contemporary romance, so we will see. We'll see.
Yeah.
I'll check it out. Well,
Hmm.
thank you for joining me tonight for Sister Girls Night In. I appreciate it, and hopefully we get a April release. If not, we can wait. We have enough. You said 56.
Yeah,
We
about
have
56.
we
Yeah.
have 56 books we can read until you come out of your hiatus. So we just wish you the best of luck with your pregnancy, with your birth, and here's to a beautiful baby girl, beautiful healthy baby girl.
Thank you.
Thank you. Joy.
All right. Good night.